Hello, Barry Dent here with another episode on the ecological restoration of Puangiangi Island, Cook Strait, New Zealand. It's late March 2025 and I'm here at the most accessible part of the sooty shearwater colony on the island. Burrow right here. This video is about Weka and what we've been trying to do about them and what the future holds for them. Weka is a flightless rail, and I think there's 4 subspecies, and the subspecies we have is the western Weka. The official threat status of western Weka is not threatened, although our experience is that they do come and go from some of the mainland regions for reasons unknown. It's possible that they're a little bit more threatened than the current official classification. They're predatory birds and they will eat sooty shearwater chicks. The adults are well able to defend themselves, and this picture, for example, shows some sooties and a Weka basically ignoring one another one night. In this burrow here, we had a camera in the nesting chamber here for some months, from just before hatching to a couple of weeks ago when Weka took the chick. The Weka came back the following day and had another look around to see if there was anything else there to eat. That was quite a big chick, and it was a little bit surprising that it took one so big. Over there, that bigger burrow that you can see in the corner of the screen, that's also one of our study burrows, and this year, however, it had a molting penguin in it. Although Wekas and burrow nesters will have coexisted in the past, we thought that because of how small the sooty colony is here, it would be worthwhile to try to suppress Weka for a time to give the sooties a chance to build up in numbers so that they'd be more resilient in future years. To that end, we've caught over the last 12 years 128 Weka and transported them by boat to French Pass and thence about half an hour's drive inland to the approved release site. Unfortunately, the fuel situation at French Pass has deteriorated, and our preferred boatman is having to concentrate on fishing rather than chartering because he has to bring in fuel in 20-litre containers from Nelson. So it's kind of shut off our easy route, and so we've put it on hold and reassessed the situation. I don't know how many Weka this island would hold naturally, but there is varying estimates of the size of their territories. They're very territorial birds and they'll defend them quite vigorously against other Weka. And it may be that the habitat on this island would support only 20 pair of Wekas, whereas it would accommodate 1 million or more burrow nesting seabirds like sooty shearwater, fairy prion, diving petrel, fluttering shearwater and little penguin. So the idea was to keep the pressure on the Wekas for a while and then allow equilibrium to establish. To be honest, we haven't really seen an increase in the numbers of sooties at the colony. The colony is not expanding, the old underutilised burrows are not being occupied regularly, and we're not seeing masses of chicks fledge each year. Why that is, I don't know. It may be because of the latitude, and that the adults have to fly such a long way to the polar front sometimes to get food, that if that rich food source moves a little bit further south because of, for example, climate change, they just won't be able to get back and they'll have to abandon the feeding trip and leave the chick here. So that may be a natural barrier to things at this latitude. However, on Mana Island, the sooty colony there is increasing quite rapidly in the absence of Weka. On Titi, not very far, that's Titi Island, not Titi the seabird, not very far that way, there's a sooty colony which is static as best people can tell. It's not often visited, so it's a bit of a guess, but it's static. It's certainly not full of Titi. Titi is not full of Titi, and there's no Weka. On Kapiti, there's a long-standing small sooty colony and many hundreds of Weka. the sooty colony is arguably functionally extinct, because evidence from 20 years ago indicates that nearly all of the chicks are being taken by Weka from that colony. A recently discovered colony on Tohora Mora, right off the coast of Kapiti, indicates that the same thing might be happening. That's within swimming distance for Weka. The Weka will swim over from Kapiti and take the sooties, and probably are. So the confusing thing there is between mana and titi. Mana, the colony is increasing in the absence of Weka and the absence of other predators. Titi, predator-free and Weka-free, the colony is static at best. So what to do? Is it time for us to realise that we won't be able to keep the pressure on Weka forever, and so we have to leave the predatory birds and the burrow nesters to find their own accommodation? This time we've sought a lot of advice from seabird scientists, and the advice ranges from shoot all the Weka for all time to, well, what do you expect? D'Urville has got a lot of Weka. Tinui, just across the channel, has got a lot of Weka. They are strong swimmers. They're going to come here. You won't be able to stop them. Just let things find their own level. They're the two extremes. And let's weigh up the benefits and detriments of Weka to this place. Some subspecies of Weka are threatened. It's possible that Western Weka here is headed that way, given the experience in Nelson, where they re-established strongly and are now all but disappeared again for no good reason. And they would have been part of the ecosystem here for millions of years. Weka, being quite a large bird, are capable of dispersing large fruits from some of the tree species. I'm thinking specifically of kohikohi and tawa. Keruru can also disperse those, but keruru tend to want to find a place to perch before they deposit the seeds. And because this island is a restoration in progress, some of the shrublands and grasslands don't have perches for keruru, but they do provide places for Weka to take the seeds and deposit them, and kohikohi and tawa will probably spread and increase in abundance more quickly in the presence of Weka than otherwise. So we've got the intrinsic merit of Weka being a sensible part of this ecosystem. We've got their seed dispersal capabilities balanced against their pretty ruthless predatory nature. We don't know what the carrying capacity of Weka on the island is, but it may be as few as 20 pairs. In times of superabundance, they would support more Weka eating tasty sooty chicks, but in the middle of winter, when lizards have gone to ground and inverts are not that common, the sooties aren't here, Weka wouldn't be able to be sustained at large numbers. So weighing up all the advice that we've received and taking into account that we haven't got a viable route to remove the Weka at the moment, and I'm not getting any younger, and we would rather not have to put huge resources into the project for the next 500 years. We'd rather it sustained itself. The decision is to stop removing Weka from the island and to just see what happens. I think the sooties have got a fighting chance of carrying on, and this burrow and the one over behind the camera are covered in cameras at the moment, and we'll see what happens as the season progresses. It's very late March now, and during April the chicks are due to come to the surface to start shedding down and exercising their wings in preparation for flying off in probably the first week of May. The cameras will tell us whether that's successful or not. So, did we do the right thing for the last 12 years in attempting to keep Weka numbers very low by translocating them off the island? Are we doing the right thing now by calling a halt to that? Or are we just making an excuse because the boat's not available readily that it's time to stop? Thank you very much for watching.